Hey guys, Craze here. I wanted to just go over the build we're using for the season here. Decided to I'm gonna try out a few different things like minions and whatnot, but I wanted to try out daggers. I've never done daggers in this game, so figured we'd do it. We're using Flash. Flash let you become invisible for a short time, perform an area of attack after charging in. If the target doesn't die, you perform this trigger cross-shaped slash. So essentially what that means is you teleport in, you hit the creature, and then if the creature doesn't die, this additional slash goes off that's based off of your weapon area and allows you to do bigger damage in a bigger area based off of whatever your weapon area is. So as you see when you hit there, that secondary slash, it can be scaled probably eventually towards, if we used a watcher stick, it's going to scale the entire screen. So that's the way you're going to clear. The way we're using it is I decided to use Blades of Death with it, just for clearing. As we go on through the season, I might switch this to Shadow Warrior, as every time you strike, it's going to do that high clear. So clearing is going to be a lot easier than I was first expecting. Though I like using Blades of Death right now, especially because of the new dagger that's come out. So when you're low level, you can pick this up. Gives you 50% damage amplification against bleeding enemies. Additional fire damage on every hit. And other than that, it acts like a normal dagger. So you're getting this special Blades of Death effect, where you're getting the damage amplification against bleeding targets, plus 3 projectiles, and it returns immediately to you. So as you see right here, immediately comes right back to you. Pretty cool stuff. So the concept here with Flash is you shoot across the screen real quick. You're going to slam into targets, and you're going to shoot off that secondary effect there. Not sure how it's going to scale all the way into late game here, but going through the campaign, it worked really well. Killing creatures, you're zooming. You just shoot through everything as fast as you want to. And it's got a few interactions with a couple of skills that I think is pretty interesting. So we'll definitely update this video and go with a more endgame build soon. But this is just what I went through the campaign with. So we're crit right now, went with Find Weakness. Eventually, you're going to want to replace Find Weakness. Like, replace this even with something that is basic, like Extract Energy would work here. Additional physical damage. We could throw on melee amplification. There's all sorts of different things we're going to be able to add there eventually, so not a big deal. Things I like to keep while I'm leveling, I think Confidence is very good. Confidence is one of the only attack speed skills that also gives you damage, and it's very easy to maintain at 80% HP. So highly recommend leveling with Confidence. Jiu-Jitsu is a new skill. I've decided to try it out. We're dual-wielding daggers, so we're getting the max benefit of it, which is every 50 weapon range, 40% crit chance, and you get 20% crit damage for every 50 weapon range as well. That's kind of the big thing it does, other than the strike amp. Savagery, of course. The skill, as you can see here, you're getting additional benefits off of your weapon range, all the way up to even including your crit chance and your maximization chance. So because of that, Savagery is going to be one of the mainstays for the build. Fighting Spirit, a defensive, offensive ability. Definitely a very good rune. Eventually, we get massive amounts of strike damage amp, along with the Fighting Spirit effect, which is very good for being tanky. And then last, you can either put Shadow Warrior here, so that you're attacking with shadows with Flash, or you can use a spell activation. I think a lot of people like to see spell activations being used, so I'm trying it with the Blade of Death first. And since Blade of Death goes out, bleeds everything, and gives us that damage amp anyway, I don't mind doing it right now. When we're using a trigger skill, I usually try to use it for debuffing or buffing myself as much as possible. So right now, instead of going for massive damage on Blade of Death, we went with Winding Wind to get the extra movement. Endless Pain to make sure the bleed rate's always happening. Additional physical damage because we were using it on Flash, and I switched out a skill, and I was like, we can use it over here. Overpower, because I like to have this overpower effect up, and it's kind of hard to get this. You used to be able to spec for this in the tree, but now you kind of have to get it through other means like this rune. and then extract Earth Energy just to help with the bleed effect. Over here with Illusion Axe, we're probably going to keep this in the build the whole time. Every time you teleport into the group of creatures, so Illusion Axe is a little bit stronger than it is with some of the other builds. So with Illusion Axe right now, we're just adding a couple of gem sockets that we could share with Blade of Death. I want things bleeding all the time right now, so this is helping with that. We might change this to an element. Maybe start freezing things. Maybe use it to electrify things. There's all sorts of things you can do with Illusion Axe. So for now, we're just using it to bleed and just do a little bit extra damage. The lower armor, extremely powerful. If you're ever doing a physical build, highly recommend using lower armor. It's just going to amplify your damage so much. So that's kind of what we're doing for the skills here. Just a quick setup of Flash into Blades of Death and Illusion Axe here. As for our Shout of Provocation as usual. I really like this skill. And as I get more sockets open and more availability, we're going to add more to Shout of Provocation. Just lingering shout and whatnot. And then with Fighter's Wrath, I'm going to add Enhance Effect and anything else that I can for attack enhance runes. For now, we're just using Sprint to cool it down a little bit quicker. And then we're using it to feed some of these other skills, some of the runes that it has, such as Increased Duration and Time Acceleration. Defensive skill is just Improved Senses. I've never used this before. It's a dagger-only ability. I'm not sure what I think about just increasing my block expertise and dodge as a defensive mechanic. So we might change this out, but because I want to try out all of the dagger skills, this is the one we're trying out. As you see, we haven't even taken it past normal. So we'll see. I'll level this a little bit further and see if there's a way I can average out managing having all this dodge rate, and then also adding a little bit of armor in because of it or something. So we'll figure something out with that. And then over here, as for the auras, we're just using counterattack. First off, because it helps the build a lot. You're going to counterattack, you're going to get the inflict pain effect, and you're going to get the extra dodge. So for people that wonder what counterattack's for, you're not really trying to scale it to do damage. You just want it to hit real quick and give you these buffs and this debuff. And last, for our attack seal, I'm using Seal of Critical Chance, and this is only because I've never leveled a Seal of Critical Chance before. Seal of Striking is most likely going to be the final seal that we use, but I just like to point out that everybody should use an attack seal, a defensive seal, and then you can use anything else like counterattack and whatnot, which is kind of like both. And then you also want to use your attack enhanced seals and a defense enhanced skill. And instead of going over a massive build video, I just kind of wanted to go over that. So this is kind of what our setup is for now. For people that are new to the game, remember, once again, you're always going to have one attack enhance, one defense enhance skill. You can throw a few other things in, like counterattack and whatnot, on top of those. And then you're always going to have one defense enhance skill and one attack enhance skill. So find out which one you think is interesting. For this build, we're using attack speed and melee damage amp. Though, just to make sense of that, this move does not scale off of melee damage. So, the more nodes I have with physical and strike would be a lot more beneficial for the build, because we're scaling physical and strike with this and physical and strike with this. You can't really scale melee over here with this one. So that's something to think about whenever you're doing a trigger skill. It's not going to always scale off of the same stuff that your main skill is scaling off of. All right. That's it for the skill tree here. The reason why we're using the skills we're using is Flash is a perfect way to keep sprint up at all times, and I think that it works really well with the two new uniques. So first off, Amal's Wreath, we already went over. You're getting the 50% damage amp, and you're making Blades of Death into a kind of a cool ability. The stats on the weapon are very good. So the epic, kind of like the Uber version of this, the tier 35 is even better. So and you can use it all the way through the game. So it'll be perfect Uber to kind of look for. Next item is the Capri's Illusion. And I always try to build my builds at the beginning just off of like some of the new items, so people can try out the new stuff that's going on. This is a new item, and so is the Hamal's Wreath, so I want to try both of them out. Hamal's Wreath or Capri's Illusion allows you to use Sprint at 100% increased duration, it increases the cooldown of it. But every time you kill a monster, it decreases the cooldown of it, which has been great. Usually when you jump into a pack of creatures with sprint on, it immediately cools it down again. The higher version of the boots are some damage, so I think that will be beneficial for us. And since our build is based a lot around just movement, we don't really need... Boots aren't a major focus for us. We can kind of do whatever we want with that. So we're getting 11% damage amp and 8% perfect dodge on the Transcendent version. The 75% mana regen is good, but right now we're using Convert Mana. I'm not sure how much we'll need this mana regen, but it's always nice to have mana regen on a piece of gear. The 11% damage amp is nice, nothing too major, and the 8% perfect dodge is just... It's really hard to get perfect dodge in this game, so that's just a nice. So overall, decent item. I don't think this is going to be a very hard chase item to get, so we're going to go for it, and I'll see what we think about it in the end. But for the most part, you're just activating Sprint. Sprint's going to be up permanently, and this is going to make it so that you're immune to crowd control effects and immune to all status effects at all times. And then while you're immune to your crowd control and status effects, that's going to allow you to use your flash ability indiscriminately. You don't have to worry about ever getting stuck and not being able to use that ability. So that's mainly the build. We're going to be using the new boots, the new dagger, and we're going to be kind of adding it all together to make kind of a nice fluid build here. Now, for Awakenings, I'm not sure what's going to be the best yet. Let's go ahead and show you what we went with. So my first Awakening, I wanted to go with the weird one, which says the number of additional strikes +1 at a damage dampening. So our skill does about 30% less damage dampening right now, but we get that additional strike. The next two are pretty self-explanatory. You're getting damage amp at weapon range dampening. You're getting weapon range and damage. So these, I mean, you're not going to really wonder what these do. This is exactly what they do. This is the one that seemed kind of strange. One thing to explain how it does is the additional strikes means the additional strike. It doesn't do anything for the first strike you do or for the teleport. It's only going to add the benefit for this additional strike here. Meaning that the moment you hit a target, as you see, it hits this target, adds that big strike area, and then this target gets the additional strike in another big area as well. So this isn't necessarily going to increase the single target damage of the skill a lot, but this is going to increase the clearing, and it also looks really cool. So we're going to try this one out for a bit, and then I might try out one of the other ones for Deb. To end the build off, I just want to go over some of the basics that people use for relics. I'm going to start off with Spica and Castor. Castor, we're going with that one just because I can get the increased strength bonuses to finish my strength first really quick. And I also kind of want to get sensory stimulation. So I'm going to try that one out. Other main one is Spica. I wanted to go with the powerful damage passive. And we're using Pulverize right now. As for charms, they're going to be the same as usual. I'm going to try to get critical rate, maximize damage, and critical damage on everything, with a little bit of HP thrown in. And we're going to be scaling Hamals, because it increases raw physical damage. Boreals for the melee damage of the main skill. And then Castors, because it just is just raw damage for anything. So these are the three we're going to focus on to begin with. Now, the Zodiac tree mainly was for leveling, so we pretty much just went through and grabbed anything I could that increased damage upon attack or attack damage. So I'll go over this a little bit in the second build video. That way we're not spending too much time with it. Some of the major nodes we went for while leveling was Super Speed for the attack speed amp. Up here, Elaborate Attack for that 10% critical chance. And then in all the other trees, I'm just trying out the dual wield nodes. I've never went down the dual wield. Seeing what I think about them so far. If anybody's wondering what I think about dual wield, there's a few things. If you look here, I just think that the other nodes, including the one-handed node, they're just all slightly better than the dual wield. Like dual wield this is a good representation of how dual wield feels on the Zodiac tree. 5% damage amp, 5% hit rate. I mean, I just not seeing 5% hit rate be equal to 15% crit rate, 15% attack speed, and then 15% HP. Like, these other three are so much stronger, and this is how it feels. This is how it feels on the entire tree for dual wielding. Do I still recommend doing dual wielding? I'm gonna go all the way through and try it out. The fact that you get 2 different unique effects if you want, if you use 2 unique daggers, is kind of nice, and the fact that you can use an offhand and it can benefit the main hand greatly is it's pretty nice. So I see why dual wielding is the way it is, but just a heads up, things like 15% attack speed does not equal 5% hit rate, not to me, and that's just part of it. Okay, so the big thing we're doing here though is I went to this part of the tree. We're gonna try a few different, but this one I went to mainly because it's easy to get the HP absorb off of, and then later if we feel like it, there is this weapon range we can go for, which helps the build. In the middle tree, I wanted Iron Will for leveling, just because it helps with the instant recovery of HP. We went with the sharpness and the weapon range at the end. As soon as we get 2 more points, I think I'm going to spec a little bit further over to here. And then this tree, once I'm fully finished, I think we're going to go over here and try out some stuff in this tree. I like what it has to offer for just raw damage. But in the meantime, while leveling, I think that enlargement is very powerful for this build. Malice release goes off. It just does damage the entire time that's going off. You're going to be able to increase the enlargement of your weapons, the size of the weapon range of your weapons. And so we're trying out the Giant's Breath side. Later for clearing, I might go over on this side and get this just Omen of Destruction. But for now, we're trying this out. And it works pretty good. So as you see right here, slam into a group of creatures for a bit, and then you got Malice on. When you walk over a group of creatures, Malice just hits pretty hard. Just extra AoE damage for you. Anyway, that's the build there. Hopefully that helps people out. So once again, what we're mainly going for is keeping a permanent uptime up with Sprint. Dual wielding. We're going to try to chase the Hamal's Wreath epic item. We're also going to try to chase the high tier Capri's Illusion. And then I'll end up crafting the rest of my gear, most likely. Let's see what we go with that. Really cool effect. You're keeping sprint up the whole time. You're immune to pretty much everything in the game while you're doing that. And then you're just sprinting around while you're immune to everything. It's pretty nice. So anybody looking to just sprint around, zoom, I think it's a pretty good build. And I'll put more up here pretty soon. And kind of go over how I think it's going to do in hard mode. And whether or not it's going to be able to perform hard mode really well. Or if we're just going to use it more for a movement skill to activate things. And I might switch over to another single target ability for hard mode. We'll see. We'll see how far we can scale this.